don't know why I'm off my comedy game today. Hey guys, Ox and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around we had the 5 Doctors. What was that about?
Well, one of our favorite recurring characters, Borusa, who had been really, really cool in the first couple of times we saw him, apparently has decided now that he wants to become immortal with the Ring of Rassilon. And the 5th Doctor starts getting all these weird feelings, and that's because Borusa or somebody is capturing the original 4 Doctors to bring them in to fight against him. Tom Baker, who apparently had decided it was too early for him to return, was caught up in a little piece of film from Shada. But the other 4 Doctors, with Richard Herndl replacing Hartnell, who had passed away, they all come in and they kind of meet various companions from the past. Some of them are illusions and some of them are actually real. But anyway, they get in and they find Borusa. Borusa says, "Do you really?" Or Rassilon says, "Do you really want this?" And wasn't it the 2nd Doctor who said, "Let him have it"? No, it was
the 1st Doctor.
First Doctor, yeah. The 1st Doctor says, "No, let him have it. Let him have it. He who loses wins. He who wins loses." And Borusa gets essentially turned into stone by Rassilon and put on the tomb, and they all depart in their own TARDISes, and that was the end of it. But we still have Turlough, and we still have Tegan.
Yes.
Okay.
So our TARDIS team is still the same going into the new season, but we're now into season 21 here in January of 1984. So yeah, I guess we're really in the sort of countdown, because it's only 26 seasons, so we're getting close to the end. That said, we're still on the 5th Doctor, and we still have 2 more Doctors to go after this. Yeah. So we'll be getting them in a bit rapid succession, I think.
Now, Colin Baker only had 2 seasons?
I think so.
And then, who's the 7th?
McCoy.
Sylvester McCoy only had 3?
It might have only been 2.
All right, so this is either the last season for the 5th Doctor or the next to the last season.
Yeah, I think it might be the last season for the 5th Doctor, because I think when he got cast, it was Patrick Troughton who recommended only doing 3 seasons. So yeah, which is weirdly enough something that the modern Doctors would follow. They pretty much, every modern Doctor, with the exception of Eccleston, has done 3 seasons. So yeah, and a lot of people are kind of hoping that is a tradition that will be laid to rest soon. Hopefully for the better. That doesn't mean we want Doctors' runs to go shorter, but hopefully it will mean they last longer, but we'll have to see. But first we have to get through the misstep and then the new Doctor. But anyway, today we're on Warriors of the Deep.
Didn't we speculate this was like the sentient seaweed again, which was one of our least favorite?
That one was pretty rough. Not even for the seaweed. Like that one, I mean, the seaweed was goofy, and the whole fact that it's like, this seaweed is possessing people. How? I don't know. Why do you ask? And it's like, oh, okay. Sorry, I questioned things. But anyway, we're not salty. But yeah, but the main thing with that was the guy at the base.
Yeah.
That was deep into the Base Under Siege episodes with the 2nd Doctor, which most of them were good, but it was something that really got repetitive with his era, unfortunately. So, I guess we haven't... Well, I guess that's still a lot of Doctor Who episodes, but...
Well, they used the formula later, but what they did was ultimately change the formula in that the commander of the base was not always the obstinate jerk. Sometimes the guy would say, "Yes, I understand. Something bad's going on. I don't understand it. I'll take all the outside help I can get." But it's the constant drumbeat of, "I am in charge of this. You will do what I say, and nothing will be different."
Yeah,
that got old very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So, probably won't have any of that in this episode anyway. But It is the first episode, or story, of the season, so the full length is available for free over at the Patreon page. You can go and watch that. Normally there would be 2 links there, like 2 different versions. I mean, they're not different, they're the same video, just on 2 different links. It may only be 1 link to the video on Google Drive. Normally I have another link to the same video on Internet Archive. I may have lost my account on Internet Archive. They didn't say anything. I've just been locked out of it at the moment of recording this. So, the good news is I have not lost any of my work. It was just another place where I put my stuff. So, I don't know. Everything. It was weird because this happened yesterday, from the day we're recording this, so it would have been Friday. And all day I was uploading things to Internet Archive, just all the, that week's episodes and stuff. And then just sometime around like 3:30, I just tried to go in and it was like, no, your account is locked. And I was like, okay, what do I do about this? And I sent in an email, I posted it on Twitter, and then got like 3 different bot accounts. That was weird. Twitter's a mess. So yeah, there may just be 1 link. And if you have any problems with that, then leave a comment or a post on the a comment on the post on Patreon, and I'll try to get that worked out. But hopefully it should all work, and we should all be good. But you can watch the full length. I don't even know if I said this, but you can watch it for free. That's the big thing of the beginning of the season, is I always offer that for free if you want to try it. And if not, then you can just, watch the normal reaction, assuming that's the next thing. So for the 5 Doctors, I uploaded the video, and the BBC just wouldn't let me post it. And so I went in and I cut it down, and hopefully it's good. You might have noticed in the description of the 5 Doctors there, I might have done this, I don't know, but I might have put that there's an extended cut of the reaction, because that's the original version I tried posting. So, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, Warriors of the Deep. You got anything else?
You said something about normal reactions, and I think our reactions are anything but normal.
That's true. So,
Warriors of the Deep.
Yeah. Our reactions are not normal, because a normal reaction on YouTube is just staring in cold silence and not saying anything constructive or funny or anything. And it's reactors like that give us, and a lot of good reactors like us, a bad name. So, anywho, Warriors of the Deep. I don't know how many times we can say Warriors of the Deep before we actually start, but let's get into Warriors of the Deep.
Episode 1. Had a lot of people who reacted and said they don't like the 14th Doctor's new theme.
That was a train wreck of a comment section, I must say.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it's the greatest, but it's what you would expect of an orchestra playing it.
Well, yeah. I should have expected people would be opinionated on that.
Very Flash Gordon in the 23rd century or whatever that was
Could be one of their
on TV about this time.
No hostile movements registered.
Gibbous.
Excellent, Gibbous.
Ixer.
But continue to monitor their activities.
Oof. He definitely got a haircut. That's like when I have a fresh haircut.
Where are we going? Earth.
I promised to show Tegan a little of her planet's future. We're almost there.
Why did you promise this?
I think we should launch a reconnaissance probe. Forever cautious. I spent too long on a sea base not to be. And given how unstable the current political situation is, an attack is not to be unexpected.
Launch an unmanned probe.
Sir.
Oh, this is such a base under siege setup.
Sir?
If there is enemy activity outside, we could go to missile run, so stand by.
Yes, sir.
Sweating profusely. I gotta say,
Base has launched a probe.
these guys are
Mack can deal with it.
similar to the
We are ready
Draconians.
to begin.
Eh.
Good.
I like they have a little light so you know who's talking.
For hundreds of years, our sea devil brothers have lain entombed.
Sea devils.
Proceed.
Now, again, slight alteration to allow movement in the eye and a little bit more movement of the mouth would have made that way creepier.
I'm not ready.
Until Lieutenant Michael's replacement arrives, there isn't anyone else.
I know. But I'm also aware that if we do go to missile alert, I don't think I can press that button.
Listen to me. Don't throw your whole career away because you don't feel quite ready. That's silly. Lieutenant Michael's replacement arrives the day after tomorrow. There may not be a missile run before then anyway.
All right.
I just went on a whole train of thought about how they'd say lieutenant.
I must admit I was a little concerned lately. That my diagnosis was inaccurate.
You can congratulate yourself and stop worrying. The sudden demise of Lieutenant Michaels has paid us an immediate dividend.
Demise?
You're a hard man, Nielsen.
Relax. Just access what the computer tells you.
I hate
and
this.
leave the final decision to the commander.
What year are we in?
Around 2084.
Little seems to have changed since my time.
Absolutely nothing, Tegan. There are still two power blocks, fingers poised to annihilate each other.
I guess that is just 100 years later.
You know where we're going?
They've been there 10 minutes and haven't run into anybody?
Repairs to the TARDIS will take some time. Better be done with the captain's permission.
I hate it.
The information on that disk is fed straight into the deepest control centers of his brain. Whatever commands we give him, Maddox has no other choice but to obey.
I'm pretty sure this is the plot of the 6th part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, actually.
How do you feel, Maddox?
Fine, Controller.
Did this process give him more eyeshadow?
I think he had it before he... Well, after he laid down, it seemed like he had a little bit more.
When I say run, run. Run!
Oh, good job. It's not great. Oh! I'm so proud of him. He's actually fighting. Okay, there's water down there.
That's the water that they use to cool the reactor.
There's nothing we can do! We can't just leave him! Face it, Tegan! He's drowned!
It's been 3 seconds. You don't lose oxygen to the brain that fast. And he's got 2 hearts anyway. Maybe that helps. I don't know, actually.
A lot of exposition here. Kind of slow-moving, kind of sluggish. And obviously there's something up with the doctor and whoever her companion was there in reprogramming the guy who shoots the missiles, which, again, we don't know what specifically they're going to do about that.
Yeah.
And still no explanation. The doctor said it's a sea base, undersea military colony, assuming the Russians and the United States, or the East and West, basically, are still 100 years later at each other's throats. Just a little bit more, not more exposition, but more fine-tuned exposition would help carry this storyline, I think.
Yeah, I'm assuming then Dr. Salo and Nielsen, maybe they're trying to start the war. Like, maybe they're not actually at war, and that's, the whole thing of the Cold War. Like, well, you always got to be at the ready. You don't know when they're going to pull the trigger, but you better be ready to shoot, to protect yourself. So maybe they're trying to just start it outright. So in order to do that, they need someone who is weak of mind. So I guess they set it up to where the previous lieutenant, had some sort of accident or something. Now you have this student who's weak of mind, weak of constitution, so that he would eventually be submitted to rewriting his mind with a GameCube disc. And then he would launch the missiles and stuff. Yeah. Also, the Silurians and the Sea Devils are here, but that's, we'll talk about that later.
Did they actually say they were Silurians?
They didn't, but I mean, they look more like the Silurians than the Sea Devils.
Yeah.
So, like, the Sea Devils have such a more distinctive look to them.
Yeah.
So, I'm assuming, because they kind of said that in the Sea Devil episode, that they're basically just the aquatic version of the Silurians. So, I'm assuming they just sort of see themselves as brethren. So, yeah. Other than that, very stock base under siege story. Hopefully it'll change it up a little bit, but I can definitely see the doctor says there's a problem here. You have these two traitors. What? No, I can't have traitors. I trust them. Well, eventually they realize they're betrayed. The leader is wrong, and then they use the doctor and defeat the I don't know how the Silurians and stuff come into this, aside from it must have been the Sea Devils that destroyed the underwater probe, but other than that, I don't know. And maybe, well, I was going to say, like, because there's the moment where there was the spaceship that attacked them, but then there's the sea base. Maybe those are the two different factions, but they seem to kind of be connected.
Yes, because one of the sea base people said that the robot detected them and fired at them. They disappeared but weren't destroyed. So I think those the original threat to the TARDIS and the sea base are in fact connected, like you said.
Yeah. So
now again, a minor thing, but again, to me, if you're only going to set this 100 years in the future, and I realize that World War I outfits for Army, Navy, and Marines at that time, no Air Force yet, are different from what they are 100 years later. But the designer has given into the whole, flashy, broad-shouldered and stripes and
yeah.
And I realize we're probably, again, I don't know if we're to the film Alien yet, but what Alien did for science fiction was a godsend. No more of the shiny plastic and aluminum foil. It was just dirty, gritty. Here we are, we're a freighter in space, and everybody is dirty and sweaty and smelly. I would like to see more of that rather than the, all shiny and again, the shoulder pads. That's very 80s.
Yeah. It's a strange thing because, like, for them, it's like, okay, this is what we're going to look like in 100 years, and for them in 1984, they can look back at 1884 and they can be like, 1884, that was so long ago, look how far we've progressed. And the weird thing is, here we are nearly 40 years later from that in 2023, and technology has progressed so much, and yet we look like, I look at something like that, it's like, okay, so that's 1980 or 2084, and I'm thinking about where we are now to where we will be there, and I'm like, that's too soon. That's way too soon, And it is kind of just like a weird thing of like, even though we've progressed so far since 1984, I cannot see humanity achieving that by 2084. Yeah. So I don't know. It's like a strange, and it's nothing they could have thought about in 1984. Yeah. So,
and you're right. The technology has improved, 100-fold. But if you look at the way people dressed in 1984 and the way they dress now, 40 years later, it's pretty much the same. We don't change that much. The last huge change was from the 1940s and 50s into the 60s and 70s. But from the 70s on to now, I mean, yes, you see high fashion. It's very weird. I've never understood high fashion. But the standard stuff, especially in the armed forces, doesn't really change. All right? You're not going to be seeing people dressed like that if they're on a military base.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely taking more of the Star Trek approach.
Yeah.
And even then, more of the motion picture approach.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's like, if it had been set, 200-300 more years in the future, it'd be like, okay, that's so far in the future. It's when, humanity has progressed so much and things are just so much different. But even just like 100 years in the future, it's like, I don't know. And it's all a minor thing, really.
Yeah.
So
we're just generating thoughts here.
Yeah. So,
but you're right. You look at the world in 1600, 400 years ago. All right, we're talking about Shakespeare. We're talking about doublets, and all the men are wearing hose, stockings, basically tights. But since then, and that was fashion. That was strictly fashion. The upper class wore all of that stuff. You go down outside of the castles and outside of the big cities, everyday people just wore wool and cotton because that's what was comfortable. That's what they could afford. It was drab. It was functional. There was always function over style. So, okay, minor thing. Let's move on.
Well, and it's also like, I just remembered, I think, Star Trek Enterprise. Like in the first episode of that, I remember being like, oh wow, there's just a guy in a suit. And it's not like a weird future suit where it's like, okay, well, I think that's the jacket and that's the tie. But, the tie comes down and then it like goes over here and then it comes down over here or something. It's like, no, it was just a guy in a suit and tie. Yeah. And then the uniforms in Enterprise are very reserved. Yeah, they're a bit more futuristic. They have like the lines that sort of signify rank and stuff like that. But other than that, it's like, no, these look like normal spacesuits. Yeah. So, and you're right. It's definitely sort of the alien thing of like, if you had like, the set honestly is fine. Like, I don't really have a problem with the set. It's very bright, it's very clean, but it does work out. But it's definitely the suits and then the eyeliner. I think the eyeliner is what kills it. Because the suits you can kind of get away with and be just like, okay, it's in the future. The eyeliner is like, okay, this is just the 80s.
Yeah, the doctor's makeup was way more severe than anybody else's.
Yeah. So. Which, that was the kind of, eyeliner we saw, what was the episode? Like Galaxy 4? That which was 20 years ago in this show. So, like, it's just a little too much for... It's like, oh, this is 2084. And it's like, I guess you could have just had people. And then whatever the Matrix, like, holes in the head. I hate that. For some reason, like, it never bothered me in the Matrix when they, jack into the back of the head. But, like, there's something about there's just a little hole. If you move your hair, there's just a little hole there. And it's like, ugh. I hate that. So, anywho.
I'm so sorry.
Gotta say, spent a lot of money on this set.
Yeah.
Because it's a 2-story set and it has a pool of water in it.
Oh,
Go around and get this door open, sir.
Boy, that guy is of no help. Just pounding on the wall.
Gonna need some new celery there, Doc.
He's got to find a new person to make it out of their mind.
You see, they have movable eyes. It seems like the other guy should, too.
Maybe that's why he has such a short haircut, is so that it wouldn't be in his face so much.
When all is ready, I will instruct Salvix and his Sea Devil warriors on the plan of attack.
Sea Devil Samurai.
Oh, yeah. They're a lot taller than I remember.
And also they used to have like flaps.
Oh, yeah.
Flappish type, not ears, but gill.
What have you been eating?
Don't see the body lying there.
Nope.
We've got to help him.
Yes, all right. First I must get you back to the TARDIS.
I want to help find Tolo.
Yes, all right.
Have you been eating?
Come on.
This is going to be a running joke.
Maybe.
Now, those are the shoulder pads that they can get away with.
Yeah. If it's aliens, it's fine. If it's humans, then we're hypercritical.
What in the world can I hope to achieve out here?
my peace of mind. Please, Tegan, don't argue. Now, I don't need to tell you what to do should anything go wrong.
No, Doctor. Good luck.
Yes, thank you.
That tube is not connected to anything.
Then see to it, Nielsen.
Take him to the PS unit.
Doctor! I wouldn't if I were you.
I am fed
Oh,
up of
gentlemen.
everything. Oh, they left the door open.
That's just going to be a shock. What the hell?
Well, at least that might convince
There's another
them.
door. Search through there.
Those men were never seen again. They've been lost to the TARDIS.
Bridge,
We found the intruder's craft. It's amazing. It isn't of this planet.
is it armed?
Not that we can tell.
We'll leave a guard on it. Return to the bridge.
Well, Commander.
Well, it seems the boy was telling the truth after all.
Oh, good. Glad we got through that.
Makes you wonder if they recorded that while speaking into a fan.
You want something?
Good job, Tegan.
Right?
Release the marker.
Oh no, not the Merca.
Last try! Thank you so much!
Listen, maybe it's friendly.
Braveheart, Tegan.
Braveheart. It's gonna kill us.
Hang on a second. Let me see who's Bulick. Ingrid Pitt. Huh. Solo. I should have recognized her. Nigel Humphreys. No, that's not who I'm thinking of. An actor many years later, obviously in the 90s, whose hairline was receding like it looked a lot like Nigel Humphreys. But Ingrid Pitt, she was in the one with the Dracula vampire thing. Remember that? The King of the Vampires.
Oh, yeah, that was State of Decay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't she like Dracula's bride or somebody?
Something like that. Yeah.
Boy, I didn't recognize her. She's, shall we say, aging gracefully.
Well, Braveheart. It's a good movie. Hopefully that helps them get out of that. I say that, I don't know if I've ever seen that, but it's a known movie.
It's a known movie, yes. Please don't mention it to people of Scottish descent because they, in my understanding, it is not just highly, it is laughably inaccurate historically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that. So, anywho. Joke about Braveheart aside. That didn't work anyway. Anywho. Yeah.
All right, much more action this time around.
Yeah.
And again, now that we see the Silurians and the Sea Devils working together, and again, they finally learned with the Merca.
Yes.
Merca. That you never show the whole thing unless you absolutely have to. Because it's much scarier if you just see the head and maybe an arm. They showed twice. It's very obviously one guy in the front and another guy in the back, like, the comic horses from pantomime and things like that. But, again, they made good use of camera angles and everything like that. So, much less exposition. Now that we've got the story started, we know where this is going, essentially. So now I'm ready to see episode 3, whereas at the end of episode 1, part 1, I know, we keep confusing episodes and parts. At the end of part 1, I was like, yeah, okay, where's this going? Got no idea. Now it's much more engaged.
Yeah. The Merca is definitely the Sea Devil equivalent of a, I guess not the Minotaur. A centaur, that's it.
Yeah.
Half man, half horse. And then there's the...
half man, half seahorse.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the horse version of a centaur, which is half horse, half horse. So it's just the front half of a horse and then the rest of the body of the horse that would have been on the centaur, so it's just a horse with 6 legs, and it's too long. So,
okay.
Let's move on to part 3. None of my jokes are landing anymore.
Yikes.
The safety of the base depends
Yo,
on
I
it.
think the actor's name was Stuart Margolis.
Oh, they even have samurai helmets. That's pretty cool.
Highly trained warriors with special weapons who move at the pace of a snail.
Yeah. They only move as fast as they need to.
Dr. Solar.
Well, that wasn't suspicious at all. I mean, when you see a creature that big, I don't know if the karate kick is your first move.
Here it comes.
Fry his fritters.
I don't know if my theory was right.
Switch it on.
Just a few more feet.
Switch it on!
All right, Tegan, close your eyes. Make a wish!
Yeah, look directly at the sun there, Tegan.
Alright, who wants fish sticks?
I'm afraid we can't do that, Commander.
You'll do it.
Your weapons, please.
Did you not disarm him?
Well,
I trusted you, Nelson.
Don't take it so hard, Commander. Like you, we were only doing our duty.
swipe, punch, out.
The Mack is dead. Tegan, make a wish!
Goodbye, Doctor.
Goodbye.
Ugh. Fry his eyeballs. Oof.
Alright, and thus ends the sabotage subplot. That.
Except that, even though the two perpetrators are dead, it seems to me the idea is they were saying that nobody could contact them. So I'm not exactly sure what their plan was.
Well, their plan was to cut communications and then cut the base's ability to use the missiles. I guess the enemy is on their way. The human enemy is on their way, and they're going to attack this sea base. But even with that still kind of lingering, I don't see that being a threat to the Silurians, because they're too powerful.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Unless they decide to blow up the entire thing with the Silurians in it, using
Maybe.
stock footage of some hydrogen bomb test out in the Pacific Ocean.
It may be, but I don't know.
We will harm no one. These 8 primitives will destroy themselves. We, Doctor, will merely provide the pretext.
You know, I guess they could have just stayed home and it would have happened anyway, apparently.
And we bear you no malice, Doctor. Once we have finished here, you and your companions will be released.
And the rest of these people?
They will die. An act of mercy, since there will be nobody for them to rejoin. Commander!
How nice.
It's a snow globe.
Ew. Every time.
It does that to all reptile life.
Then use it on the invaders.
And kill them.
Why not? They're about to start a war that will destroy everyone on Earth.
I sometimes wonder why I like the people of this miserable planet so much. The Silurians and Sea Devils are noble races,
They have skills and talents you pathetic humans can only dream about.
That doesn't alter what they're about to do.
No. No, and we must stop them.
Look out, Commander!
Now concentrate, Doctor. Let nothing distract you. Now, Doctor! You've done it.
You'll only have a headache for a week.
Commander wasn't so lucky, I'm afraid. He's been shot.
This is one of those everyone dies stories.
Hamlet.
Yes, Doctor.
They're all dead, you know.
There should have been another way.
You know, nothing fun comes from the Silurians. Because I tell you what, the Silurians come back in an episode with the 11th Doctor. Same thing. It just never works out with these guys.
This is very similar to the movie that followed this 2 years later, War Games, where the computer ultimately says that it's a strange game, the only way to win is not to play. So what they're saying here is, if you choose to play this game, everybody dies.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it was good.
Yes. Now, again, directorially speaking, I think this could have been cut down to 3 episodes. A lot of exposition, very slow exposition. I'm tired. Exposition in the first episode. A lot of, I don't want to say padding, but running to and fro, climbing up and into the air vent and then back out. And so I think with judicious editing, this could have made a really good 3-episode show.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of an interesting thing because you still see that sometimes in modern shows as well. Like, it's not just something that we solely focus on with old Doctor Who and stuff. Because I remember someone took the Obi-Wan Kenobi show and actually cut it into a 2.5 hour movie, and people have seen that and they're like, actually, this greatly improves it. Like, everything was there in those 6 episodes, but it kind of works better. The pacing works better. A lot of the decisions kind of work better. And the thing is with this, it's like, it's always down to the writing, and it always has to be a 4-part story, Like, you pretty much, you divide it up at the beginning of the season. You say, all right, you got these 4 episodes, you have these 4 episodes, and every time it's like, which honestly, you could get, maybe this is just something like maybe they didn't want to pay another writer, but if you shortened every story to 3 episodes, you could then have another story in there.
Yeah.
So,
now, are they still on the 2 a week?
Yes.
Okay, that may be it, because they need to do 2 one week and 2 the next week.
Yeah.
Whereas you do 2 and then 1, and then another starter, and then 2 to finish it. So I understand that, but yes, with the format, the fact that they're blocked into 4 half-hour segments, 4 25-minute segments, it does, unless you've got a writer who can fill that, then it's up to the director to say, all right, we're going to spend even 2.5, 3 minutes of, hoisting people up into the air shaft, crawling through, getting down. Wait, we can't do this. We can't kill them all. Let's go back. I got to make my way to the bridge. So, again, a modern editor could take those 4 episodes and make it into a really good 90-minute show.
Yeah. And it's kind of also the thing of, like, if you compared this to something, this might be a strange comparison, but something like Sherlock, where Sherlock, every episode was about an hour and a half, 80 to 90 minutes, but it would be like if an episode of Sherlock went about 20 minutes longer. And it's like, we're not saying that there is, bad content in that extra 20 minutes, but it serves it better at that sort of hour and a half mark.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
one of the few things I like about the whole streaming episodes, like with Star Wars and some of the others, is that sometimes you get an episode that's 25 minutes, sometimes you get one that's 45 minutes, sometimes you get one that's an hour and 20 minutes. So it all depends on what is the story you're trying to tell, not the format that you have to block it into.
Yeah. So, and even you can see that sort of thing play out in Doctor Who, because that was exactly the last episode. That was the 5 Doctors. It was just an hour and a half, 90 minutes straight through, and it was pretty solid.
Yeah.
So,
but yes, overall, before anybody starts, criticizing, I liked it. Yeah. I like the idea that the Silurians and the
Sea Devils
were once again saying, "Hey, you betrayed us twice before. We're going to get even with you now. We're using your own technology against you." I'm assuming the photon is like we've discussed before, the neutron bomb. We're going to destroy all the human life on Earth, but then once that is done, once the humans are gone, we'll be able to reemerge and reestablish our own civilization. So, good story. Some great acting. I like the commander. And again, the Doctor has one of those Captain Kirk, let's get the hell out of here moments there at the end, where he says there should have been a better way. And that is a good angry response. It shouldn't have come to this.
Yeah, and definitely because we always talk about the frustration that the 5th Doctor has, especially with Tegan and Turlough, and that's that's always something I think is just fun that Peter Davison brings to the Doctor. But I like that they basically channel that into his disappointment at the end, and I think that works really well. That he is, he looks at it, and it's one of those Doctor Who stories where pretty much everyone except maybe like Bulick, like everybody died here, and it's a very terrible thing. And he looks at it because again, this is the 3rd time this has happened as well, because there was the episode with the Sea Devils, there was the episode with the Silurians, and both of those times he failed, and now he's done it again. And it's an interesting thing. Last episode we talked about, there's continuity if it serves the plot, but it's more than just continuity. Just the fact that every episode dealing with the Silurians, there's not a good outcome, and it's the one thing the Doctor constantly fails on. Yeah. And to an extent, I get from a, I guess, sort of world building perspective. It's like, well, we can't just have the Silurians, while they're off on an island and they coexist with humans. That'd be kind of weird and wonky. And if you do go back to modern day Earth, is that going to affect things? But it is an interesting point that it will just never work for the Silurians specifically, because the Doctor will always try to save the humans, and because of that, in response, the Silurians will end up dead, basically, because they are the ones that chose violence, basically. Because they talk about it, that the Silurians, they only want peace, and that they want a peaceful existence, but they realize now they can't have a peaceful coexistence, basically. Yeah. And so because of that, in order to attain peace, they need the war, basically. Or war, just genocide. Even if they say, well, we will not harm the humans, but we will set it up so that they then kill each other, basically. So it's a very interesting message, and I'm glad they don't sugarcoat it. There's no way out of it. It's just, nope, for the 3rd time the Doctor has failed this species, so and to be fair, it's not entirely his fault either, because he always tries. And like with the original Silurian episode, it was going to work. There was going to be a peaceful coexistence, but it was the Brigadier who made the decision to just destroy them completely, or as complete as he thought. So that's always just an interesting. It's an interesting continuing thing with the Silurians. So, if there's one thing, I guess we're gonna play a quick game of good, bad, good, because we're gonna go to the other the counterpoint for this episode, which is the subplot of the saboteurs. I'm not sure if that was necessary.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's one of those, I mean, I guess it's like, you know, if you talk about like Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's like, well, does Indiana Jones actually do anything? Would, you know, the Nazis have eventually just gone there and, you know, all melted anyway? You know, because it's like, well, the Silurians just completely undo all the sabotage. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, you could even argue maybe the Silurians didn't even need to be here, you know? Because it's like, well, there was... If you have the sabotage subplot, that means the enemy is going to attack the sea base, thus this war would have started, and if it's anything like, you know, the sentiment during the Cold War, is that it would have destroyed all life on Earth. But if you don't have the sabotage subplot, the Silurians come in and nothing really changes because there would have been no issues with the computer, basically. So it's one of those things, like, I'm not sure what the point of that was, because I also feel like we didn't get a message out of that part of, you know, like, oh, there's evil on both sides or anything like that. It's like, well, that was a thing, and it kind of makes sense having it because we're doing this whole Cold War analogy basically in this episode, but it doesn't really serve the point of the Silurians being there. So, but now, from good, bad, back to good, we go to the other side of that, because we talked about at the beginning of this episode the base under siege episode and how those kind of got repetitive in the Second Doctor's era, and we specifically talked about the, you know, sort of disgruntled leader person. Vorshak, I like that he's sensible. Like, I understand his frustration. You know, these guys show up out of nowhere. There's already a tense Cold War going on, and then these sea creatures start coming out. This, you know, seahorse centaur thing starts coming out. But he does listen to the Doctor. There are moments of that, even though there are moments where he's like, you know, I'm taking your advice, but I should have you shot for what you've been doing. But I won't, because I need to keep all my options open right now. So I at least enjoyed that. You know, we've had a lot of leaders. You know, the leader on the base that is just so annoying. But I like Vorshak.
Yeah.
So
now, minor criticism: the firefights between the Silurians, the Sea Devils, and the base fighters. They had pistols and rifles, but, you know, we see guys going like this, and you hear the sounds, but there's no visual. I mean, now, the Sea Devils did when they fired their little guns. There was a bright spot that appeared on somebody. But, yeah all of those, the gun battles lacked a certain amount of, you know...
Yeah. I mean...
visual action.
You know, it's one of those things of like, well, you know, the gun battles are never that exciting in Doctor Who, but then I also sit here and think, it's been 20 years. They could have figured out something in this time to make these... Like, how many times have we seen, you know, the big costumed monster just sort of lumbering through the hallway, and them kind of, you know, they're backing up and, you know, trying, and nothing's working, and they get back, and, you know, there's like one little spark and someone falls down, and it's like, how many times have we seen that in 20 years that... You're right. It's like, at this point, I'm like, okay, you can make this a little more visually interesting.
And, again, realizing that the Merca was supposed to be somewhat invincible. And considering how they gooed up that one guy when they fried him with the hexochromide gas or whatever it was.
Yeah.
When the Merca stuck its hand and the bulkhead closed on it, I fully expected that arm to flop off on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, and that would have given it even more rage as it was, you know, kind of dribbling green goo as it was ultimately being fried.
Yeah. And even like the UV light that the Doctor used, it's like, oh, it'll fry him completely, and it's just, you know, a blue light effect that they put in post, and then the thing just kind of, you know, fell down. It's like, I mean, I know it costs money to make something like explode or something, and, you know, it was but I mean, even just the fact that it's like we only see the one, not that I need this to be like really gory, like, you know, like an R-rated movie or something, but like
Renfield.
Like Renfield. We recently watched Renfield, and that was a very gory movie. It was hilarious, but it was very gory. But the fact that it's like, oh, you know, we see the one sea devil melt a little bit, and then that was it. Like, they only had the budget for the one sea devil, which was just, you know, they're gonna put a couple tubes, you know, in the eye and in the nose, and then just put the mask on the ground, and then just pump it in, and it'll go out a little.
And, you know, foresight. Film that from 3 or 4 different angles, so that when the sea devils in the control room died, you would have a different angle on it.
Yeah, and the Silurians never had that either. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's just the visual effects, and I mean, I feel like it's a double-edged sword critiquing visual effects in Doctor Who, because it's like, well, you know, it's 1984 on TV with, you know, almost no budget, and, you know, there's a lot of difficulties. On the other hand, it's been 20 years, and the visuals haven't improved that much over the course of this show. So, I don't know. But yeah, other than that, I think, so again, on our game of good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, I guess this is back to good. I think this episode definitely works because it is the Silurians, even though they honestly didn't do too much, like, until the end. Like, you know, they were going through the base, and you have the Merca and the Sea Devils. Sea Devils, I feel like, really didn't. They just had those costumes, I feel like, because otherwise there's not too much distinction between the Silurians and the Sea Devils. But I think the story works just because this is a continued thing of the Doctor always fails the Silurians. And I think that's sort of what ties it all together, because otherwise, even with some good stuff like Vorshak or something, it would be another base under siege thing, you know? So,
now, this is going to sound very strange, but it just occurred to me. It could be something as simple as what we used to do. The very first season that your mother and I did our own theater, we did my adaptation of the Sleeping Beauty story. And at one point, the Wicked Witch has to battle, you know, the Prince Charming type, and he had a shield, and the witch, you know, did her thing and threw the spell, and our special effects guy had fixed a small battery and a switch to the back of the shield, and he put a flashbulb. I don't know if you've ever seen a flashbulb, but they used to be what you would actually put into a camera to take pictures that needed light. And so when the witch threw that, the kid flipped the switch, and the light bulb just went poof, you know, and it flashed. Seriously, at the end of those guns, put a flashbulb so that anytime they shoot it, it just flashes. That's all you got to do. And, you know,
yeah,
a battery and some wire and a switch and flashbulbs, you could have probably, you know, done the entire army there for, you know, $50.
Yeah. So, and then good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. I guess the one last thing, because I just thought of it, would be Turlo. I know a lot of people like Turlo. I'm still like half and half on him. Like, yeah, he's gotten better now that he's not attached to the Black Guardian as a plot line. But I don't know. Like, I'm very mixed, because sometimes I look at it and it's like, come on, dude. I thought you were supposed to be the smart one here. Like, you know, when he looks at it, it's like, look, he's drowned. Obviously, it's like, it's been 3 seconds. Yeah. Even if he got the wind knocked out of him when he fell in there, you know, you could probably hoist him out, you know?
Now, after he fell in the water, he wore the suit,
yeah,
for the rest of the 3 episodes.
Yeah, that so it makes the you wonder, suit that didn't do any favors to him.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, are they changing what he's going to wear, or is there something that went wrong with it that they couldn't use it? So, I mean, it's one of those things that maybe somebody in the comments can answer. Why did he end up wearing that suit for the rest of the 3 episodes?
I don't know, because, I mean, it can't be an issue of, like, well, in the continuity, you know, his clothes would have still been wet, because his hair dried really quickly. So, and obviously it did, because it was just, you know, the next, you know, later in the shoot, his hair is completely fine, you know, or the next day or whatever. But yeah, it's like that suit didn't work on him at all. But yeah, and then the other thing with Turlough, when it's like, oh, well, the Doctor is on the bridge, and Turlough's just like, screw him. Let's get back to the TARDIS. And it's like, what?
Yes.
It's really like, it does seem to be sort of a half and half. Like, sometimes Turlough, I mean, I guess he doesn't want to take an unnecessary risk. If he, sees the situation and is like, there is no chance that we get out of this alive, basically. And so he always looks at things very logically, whereas Tegan is like, we can't just leave him there. She's thinking more emotionally, I guess. But it is just sort of a frustrating thing of like, come on, man, you can try something at least, So, I don't know. Well, in our whole game of good, bad, is there anything good to end on with the episode? Because we've pretty much covered everything in the back and forth, but we could at least end on a good part. The only thing I can think is just ending on such a serious note of, there should have been another way, and it just cuts out there. So, but other than that, I don't know. Anything else?
No. I liked it overall.
Yeah,
could have used some tweaking, but
yeah, like the things we say in our good bad, like the part on the bad end is not really that bad.
No,
they're just like just some minor things, and the good. So the good is much bigger than the bad overall. Yeah. So,
all right, what's up next?
Next up is The Awakening.
Okay.
All right.
We had the Enlightenment, now the Awakening.
Exactly. We're gonna get woke. These jokes aren't landing. So, apologies to comedians everywhere. And with all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time, where our brains work properly and we can tell jokes properly. See you guys there. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around at any of those. There's a playlist with all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another playlist for all of my modern Doctor Who reactions, which those might be coming back at the time this goes up, I don't know. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go try out any of those. See you guys later.